Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Travelers Season 1, Episode 1. It's a new show from, well, for everyone else it's from Netflix. It's actually already aired in Canada. It was a Canadian show that's
Yeah.
already aired week to week there.
I'm not sure if they've had the last couple. I feel like they've had maybe 10.
Yeah, there's 12 episodes in total, and maybe they've got one or two left, but this is the pilot, of course. There's no name, just a pilot. So, this is we'll start spoiler free, as we always do with episode 1s, but the premise that I will give you is that it's about travellers, if you will, coming from the future to present day to try and solve some kind of problem. We don't get a whole lot in episode 1 as to what that problem is, just that it's, going to be devastating in the long run for the human race. And they take over the bodies of people who were about to die anyway. So
Yeah.
no guilt because they were going to die. And that's pretty much the gist of it. And episode 1 just kind of establishing who all these people are, the people they've taken over, and that kind of thing, and just kind of setting up the key players without too much actual plot.
It is very much just set up going, here's who this person took over. And, it kind of just goes through them all.
Yeah, it certainly opens like that. It goes one by one as they all have
Yeah.
their moment, and it comes up on the screen saying time till death. And the first time that happened, you're not really quite sure. Like, okay, you get it, someone's probably about to die, but then it sort of, the timer inverts and it goes into like post time.
Yeah, it like changes colour and just
Yeah.
kind of counts back up.
But you immediately get it because they do this great thing. Because the first character we see, Marcy, she's mentally disabled. She has a learning disability, and they show you her trying to read. She's a cleaner in a library. She's working late at night, and they show that she can't read properly. She can't, she has trouble speaking. She, you can tell, who she is.
Yeah.
And it was a smart choice to start with her because when she changes, when she's taken over by this whoever this is from the future, because we don't really know who the people from the future are yet. We've not sort of delved into that. When that new person takes over, she immediately turns into someone who's clearly aware of who they are, where they are, what they're doing, and actually busts out some fighting skills to defend herself. So you get it instantly. You know, oh right, okay, this has changed. There's someone else in there driving the body. Like, it's not the same
Yeah.
person anymore. So when it shows you the next three people with the similar sort of trick of the timer and all that, they don't have to show as much of a difference for us to get it, because we've already seen it once. We've seen the one that was the most different, and then these
Yeah.
three. So it does a really good job of getting that across. But we'll stay away from sort of details now until we get to spoilers. I will say, I think it's really well shot. I was actually surprised, because I thought going into this that because it was actually something that a Canadian network had made, and then Netflix kind of picked up for everywhere else, that it would look like a network TV show. But it actually looks more like a Netflix show.
Yeah, and do you know what? This is the thing. Before it came out, obviously it's been out in Canada for what, a few months now, I guess at this point.
Yeah, October
Like-
premiered, I think.
Right, and I thought, I'll check out what the general feedback was kind of like, just so I know what to expect. And I saw a lot of people saying, oh, it feels like typical cheap Canadian TV. And it does not at all, in my opinion.
Maybe there's a nosedive in episode 2. We've not watched episode 2 yet, but episode
Yeah.
1 certainly felt a lot more like a Netflix. Even the aspect ratio. I know I love to talk about aspect ratios, but even the aspect ratio was in that House of Cards sort of 2.0 to 1.
Yeah, it's almost like the Netflix ratio.
Yeah, enough of them have used it at this point. Yeah, that you
Yeah.
almost want to call it that, because Stranger Things used it as well.
Yeah.
So as soon as it starts, and you get this shot of this library, which, by the way, I didn't even know it was a library at first, because it was such a cool sort of like angular design of a building, and I was like, what the hell is this place? It wasn't until someone said later it was a library that I really clocked that that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I was the same.
Because I thought it was like, yeah, she was reading a book at one point, but I thought that was just like the kids' area of whatever the building was. Like, it might not have been the whole
Yeah,
thing.
like a reception sort of lobby,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
like where you put your magazines to keep the kids busy.
Exactly, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they confirmed it's a library later on. But no, so it looks pretty good. There's a couple of small fight sequences where they did a really good job of shooting at the exact time. There's one in particular outside, and they shot it right at dusk, and you see the sun setting in the background as we see the sort of characters in silhouette. And I'm like, oh, that's quite
Looks
pretty.
pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does look pretty good.
Like I say, like when people were saying, "Oh, it looks like cheap Canadian," I don't necessarily have a problem with that. We like some cheap Canadian looking shows.
Oh no, Winona Earp ended up in a lot of fun, but it looks cheap. It never doesn't look cheap.
Yeah, and that's fine. So I went in with that expectation, and then I saw this. I was like, whoa, this is different.
Don't get me wrong. There's a couple of small tell signs that it's not an actual Netflix original production.
Yeah.
There's a couple of small things. In fact, an actor showing up from Incorporated in the middle of the episode really made me go, whoa, okay, they really did shoot this in Canada, because obviously that's where... Yeah, that's the funny thing, though, is that even though it's set in the US, because so many actors are filming these shows in Canada, it's actually quite easy for them to get American actors for a lot of these roles.
Yeah.
But... Nah, like I actually really enjoyed this first episode. I think it's a little rough around some of the edges.
Yeah.
I have a couple of nitpicks. Mainly, each of the four characters we're introduced to, who all get sort of taken over by the travelers at the start, they all have like one like supporting character each kind of thing. And I like Marcy's. Marcy's is really good. David, her social worker, I think he's really likable, and his kind of confusion as to her being not, being just like completely intelligent and normal now, is really fun to see that play around with. I think the others all suffer from being really two-dimensional.
Well, yeah, they're all kind of just there to serve the purpose of the initial scene.
Like, I thought the teenager's girlfriend, she seemed like just cardboard cutout, nothing.
Yeah. The husband or father or whatever he was, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, of Carly. Yeah.
Yeah,
he was just kind of. I mean, he at least had some interesting scenes because of what it did to her, but
he himself was just there.
Yeah, he's just kind of a typical character. But all the four of the main ones were all interesting. They were all like, oh, this is kind of fascinating, and them tried. And I like that it's not until halfway through the episode that someone actually says, oh, I'm from the future. Like, they let you just kind of go along with it. And sure, if you know what the premise of the show is, you know that's what it is, but it doesn't just come out saying it in a bunch of exposition.
Yeah, it's like if you didn't happen to watch a trailer for this, which I feel like maybe you wouldn't have, because a lot of the time Netflix is you don't. Perhaps
you just
they
try
kinda
episode one. Yeah,
they kind of just Netflix goes, oh, here's a new thing. Well, why don't you give it a try? And I feel like I've watched a few shows like that. I mean, even Stranger Things, I don't think I watched the trailer for.
I think I did, but it was like 3 months before it aired, so I'd already forgotten everything before I'd seen it. But no, I thought it was a solid first out, and obviously we don't get a whole lot of plot, but it feels kind of like I said, the direction's very good. It doesn't feel like it's shot like a typical TV show. There's a lot of really sort of stylistic choices.
Yeah, there's one from like inside a car looking out, but it's not at the typical angle. It's like at a different angle that you usually see that shot, and it stood out to me.
Yeah, I feel like they had some effort there. So maybe it's the kind of thing. We've seen this with some other shows in the past where the pilot gets all this extra time and effort, and then episode 2 it comes crashing down, and not necessarily always bad, because the show might still be well written and well acted and so on, but you notice the direction taking a hit, and it becomes more typical standard TV shooting, and maybe we'll see that in episode 2. Hopefully not, but maybe we will.
Yeah, it's a possibility. It's a little bit of a fear, but you kind of got to give it the benefit of the doubt at first, I guess.
Yeah, and like we say, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean the show will be bad overall. We might still get really into the plot, and I'm definitely intrigued by the plot that's set up in this one.
Yeah, there's definitely enough going on that makes me want to come back just to find out more of the plot, if nothing else.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely down for watching episode 2. Like, I like this way enough, and I think it did a really good job of, like I say, keeping everything intriguing, so I was invested the entire time. I was constantly curious as to, oh, what's happening? Where's this going? Who are these people? And the whole episode's kind of about these 4 people who've came back, because it's not like they all come to people who are all together. They're kind of spread out, and the episode's mostly about them finding each other, and for their first kind of...
Yeah, it's like we get hints that they're all going to meet up at a certain place, and it's like the whole episode's kind of building to that, and it does work quite well. Yeah,
it does. So here's hoping for a continuation of the intriguing ideas from it. So we'll go into spoilers now, I think. So full spoilers from this point on for episode 1 of Travelers. Although one last point before I go into spoilers. I will say I am happy that this show, because when I heard it was about time travelers, I was like, please be different from Legends and Timeless, and even the one that's not even on yet in NBC, or not
but looks
NBC,
ABC. ABC, but it looks the same as the others.
Yeah, I hope it's not like those, and it is different, because they've came from the future to try and stop something here. It doesn't seem like they're going to be travelling around every episode or anything like that.
And I suppose it's a little bit different where it's not a physical travel, it's like a mental projection almost.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. But even that, I don't think's the big difference. The big difference is for me is that this is more like Terminator, where someone's came back from the future.
Yeah, it's more 12 Monkeys
to stop something. You say that it's been like years since I've seen that movie.
I'll just say there's a TV show on at the minute, isn't there? So
yeah,
it feels like a.
I've not seen it. I can't remember the plot.
Right. It feels like an appropriate reference.
I'll have to take your word for it. All I remember is Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt being cuckoo. That is literally all I remember about 12 Monkeys.
Okay, well, they're also going back to stop a certain event.
Yeah, I don't even remember that being part of the plot, if I'm honest. Like I say, it's been a long time. I remember Insane Asylum scenes. That's about it.
Fair enough.
Full spoilers from this point on for Travelers Episode 1. Not a whole lot to talk about in spoilers. Obviously, the one main thing is that the FBI agent, who's kind of like, they've noticed this like weird activity online because they've all been like chatting to each other using this code, and they think it may be a terrorist cell, and he's sort of investigating them all. He tracks them all to their meeting place, and they all tell him, and this is where we get a bit of exposition, and it works quite well because he doesn't know any of this, and they're like, oh, we've come back from the future, because humanity is going to be destroyed, but we've stopped this guy who's going to be a serial killer or whatever his exact crime was, and we've all came back because the people were about to die anyway. And then the FBI guy does die as well, or he didn't die, but he
should have died.
He should have died. So because at the start of the episode, I thought they all actually did die, and they came in just after the death. Whereas
it looks like that, doesn't it?
It does.
Where it's like, because the countdown gets to 0, and they all kind of drop to the ground. They're holding their heads. Obviously, now we know that's just like the implantation.
Yeah. Because whereas at the end we see no, you stop the death, and then like 30 seconds later is when it actually, properly. You could argue maybe it was the exact time that he would have died, though, because maybe if he fall down the elevator shaft, he'd have lay there dying for a minute. He wouldn't have been instantly dead, kind of thing.
Yeah, I buy that.
Yeah,
he bleeds. It wasn't just an instant death. He bleeds out a little bit.
Yeah, he's just lying there in pain.
Twitches a little bit.
Yeah, but of a twitch. Yeah.
Well, that's gotta hurt.
That's got to hurt. Oh dear. But yeah, so he's taken over. He appears to be the leader, and I'm partly just saying that because he's in the middle of all the posters, but.
Yeah, and also, when he comes back, he goes, oh, we all made it.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like he's immediately taking charge, like they were waiting for him.
I like the little bits of mythology building. When the cop has a heart attack, Philip says to him, oh, we considered you as a host. So I knew you were going to die. It's like, they know so much about what's going on right now, and they know about the lottery numbers and the gambling, but it's only because they've studied this specific period of time, because they knew they were coming here, so they needed the advantages. So it makes sense that they know all these things because they've looked into it.
I like that particular moment as well because it sets up ideas for the potential with this sort of time travel. Like, would he have always had the heart attack, or did he have the heart attack because he was running after chasing them? And even though they're come back to stop whatever happens, maybe they can't. And
did they always come back and they're always doomed to fail?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That right there was like one small line, but it kind of gave that
it was
possibility.
I knew you were going to have a heart attack, but I didn't know I was going to be here.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, did he have the heart attack because he was chasing him and running? Or
did it happen and he wasn't there? And it's just
exactly, and we have no way of knowing. But I like the idea that it immediately just presents the possibility that it could have been.
That said, he does say your heart attack would have happened within days. Maybe it did take an extra day or two. It
could have done, yeah.
Yeah, because the reason why it accelerated was because he was running, and it drove his body that little bit further that caused the heart attack. Yeah. I really like Marcy and David's relationship. I think it's a really intriguing thing where she opens the door naked after she's now completely what's the word? What's the word to use for someone who's now cured of mental disability? I don't know. I don't think there is one.
Everything you think of feels like it'd be insensitive.
Anyway, so she's completely changed, and he sees he's shocked that she can read the newspaper because he's going to get the kids book for her, and she's reading the newspaper and talking about facts and all that. And I like the idea that the body's already kind of messed up. She maybe made the wrong choice picking this body because it was already damaged in that sense because she was ill. That she has these occasional seizures. That it's not a perfect vessel for whatever she's doing, and that obviously will create some problems. But what I like about their relationship is that he's stuck in this really weird place where he's clearly getting attracted to her, and she even kisses him at one point. But for him, this is like a big no-no. If she was still ill, this would be like assault.
Well, yeah, and like even at the start when he opens the door and she's naked, he says, "No, we've talked about this. I can't be your boyfriend." So it's like
As if she's
not,
asked that
yeah,
before.
this hasn't come out of nowhere for him.
Yeah, but and the word he keeps using is inappropriate. And I even got a good laugh at her when she puts on the dress, and it's funny actually because when she stands in front of the window with the dress, you can kind of the light shines through it, and you can kind of see the shape of her body inside the dress from behind. And he's like, "Is this appropriate?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's although maybe some underwear." And I was laughing because I actually kind of noticed you could see her like body shape more than you should have been able to.
Well, that was the point because
Yeah.
as soon as that scene happens, she just kind of looks around like for the first thing and just throws it on and goes, "Ah, that'll do."
Yeah, but no, I like their relationship. And him, because he seems like a really nice guy, and it seems like someone who'll want to help, as opposed to the others where, the husband of Carly's character, he's like an abuser. He was going to be responsible for her death. And she even says that, had I not made you leave, you would have struck me again. And she knows that because that's what killed her.
That's what would have happened. Yeah.
But their fight was cool. Because he is such a dickhead, there's a real like cathartic feeling of her just kicking the crap out of him.
Yeah, but like that first moment where he hits her, it's like a big moment for the show. I mean, because it comes after the fight with Marcy outside already, anyway.
Which I also liked, by the way. I like that moment where she turns on and it's like, all right, kung fu time.
Yeah, that was cool. But then that moment was like, okay, this is going further now.
Yeah, they're all trained in combat, I assume. I have to imagine. They're a team of like Marines or whatever.
Yeah, you've got to imagine that there's some reason why these people who've come back, they must have prepared for it. I mean, they've trained, they've done research. You think they've got to have trained physically as well?
Yeah, and even if they don't all fight, at least some of them will. Because I was thinking how Philip gets the money to fund their like whatever their base is going to be. Because he even says that it's for their new hideout. I'm like, oh, so maybe that's like his job. Like he's the money guy, he's the planning guy, like kind of thing. Maybe the FBI guy is going to be the leader. Or maybe the others have specific roles that they're experts in, but they can all like handle themselves in combat and things like that.
That makes sense because obviously, why spend time all researching the exact same bit? You can designate sections and specialize.
And there's 5 of them. Why 5? So it makes sense that they all have individual skill sets that they can use. But yeah, that's I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Like I say,
I did as well. I'm kind of annoyed
because we have to watch all of it now.
Yeah,
Or at least watch it, unless it starts to suck halfway through, in which case maybe we'll jump ship. But
yeah, I was like, okay, because we first heard about this a week ago, and
we almost decided not to do it because it already aired in Canada. We thought, oh, maybe it's already past due. But then we thought, well, it's Netflix for everyone outside of Canada. That's a lot of people who. It makes sense.
Only just trying it, yeah.
And honestly, then it sounded good. It sounded like something that we'd be in because it's science fiction, it's time travel, it's our kind of show. We have to at least try it. And honestly, first episode, pretty good.
It was pretty good, and that's annoying because Christmas.
Christmas, yeah, that is worth mentioning that we won't get through the episodes as quickly for a couple of days because it's Christmas Eve and Christmas. We may get 1 or 2 done over those days, but I wouldn't expect any more, especially since I have to binge watch about 2 seasons of Doctor Who in the next 48 hours. So
you really do, yeah.
Yeah.
And we have other stuff to record as well. It's not like we can just go away and watch this.
Yeah, so maybe a bit slower starting, but once we get to 26th, 27th, we should be able to pick up the pace a bit and we can start pumping the reviews out a little bit quicker. So bear with us, but it is the holidays, so hopefully you can forgive us the more lax pacing. I will say, just to go back to the show, out of the 4, the teenager, Trevor, is probably the least interesting.
Yeah, but he also had the least to do.
That is also true.
Because he did nothing except show us the effects of, them coming back and adjusting to life, like as this person. Because he goes to school and it's like the locker, whereas Philip kind of had the stuff with the money. The others had the fighting and showing us like skill sets. He didn't really get to do anything other than show us that they have to struggle to fit in.
Yeah, Marcy's definitely the most interesting right now.
Yeah.
And it helps that she has the best relationship with her supporting character, where all the supporting characters aren't as interesting. But
I don't see that as being as much of a problem going forward. Now they're all in a group though, and they'll be the supporting characters to each other essentially.
Yeah, but and then the other supporting characters, other than maybe David, who does seem like he'll have a direct relationship with her, there'll be plot points for their stories, but it's the core five coming together, and
Yeah.
I'm excited to find out what their mission is, what they're here to do, you know, kind of thing. And the one advantage this has over, say, 11/22/63, which was early this year, which was about going back in time into the 60s and stopping JFK assassination. There's no rules here because we don't know what it is, we don't know what's going to happen. Whereas with that, there was almost the kind of thing where it still kind of has to happen, it still has to play out, you know.
Yeah, there's still like an element of they have to follow history to a degree.
Whereas here it's present day, we don't know what the future is, they're trying to stop, we can have fun with it, they can have crazy, and so far it's been well executed, so hopefully that keeps up. I'm I'm worried that episode 2 is going to nosedive, but hopefully when we get to that tomorrow, probably, that won't be the case. So, there you go. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Let us know what you think of the first episode of Travellers in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that jazz helps us out a lot. If you're going to comment and you have seen the whole show, do be wary of spoilers. Assume that everyone else commenting down there has only watched the first episode, because that's how we like to talk about the shows. Is that, you know, we only watch this one, so we get to speculate, we get to think about what's coming ahead, and that kind of thing. So just be nice to everyone else and, you know, us. So thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you next time.